VC, hey there. I'm gonna do this vinyl tag. Needed about a week to really process it. Rob Walker setting up the questions. Well done. I'm gonna run through the questions, and you know the drill. It's vinyl tag. Always the thing that happens the first of the year. I was sort of hemming and hawing about doing it, just because, I don't know. It takes a lot of time actually to pull these records and come up with these answers. So because I did and I took a bunch of time, I'm actually going to show 2 answers for a couple, and just figured I would elaborate some on this here vinyl tag. My plan was to do the dots and loops vinyl tag after this, but that is a spicy meatball. That's a tough nut. So I'm going to probably do that maybe in another video. I had 20 questions pulled out from his 101 dots and loops, Dan. So that 20 questions, I'm going to put that aside for now. So that will not be happening. All right, I will just get into it because we got a bunch to go through here. Try to keep this around 20 minutes. My one of my favorite records from 2022. Now, when I do the vinyl tag, I always like to make it a sort of requirement for myself is that I don't show anything I've shown before, for the most part. There may be some things here and there, but for a lot of this you wouldn't have seen. And this one's going to be heavy. A lot of the answers here are going to be sort of in the punk vein, or at least some of them anyway. So this one, I don't know if I showed, but this wasn't my favorite record of the year, but it was one of them. And I showed it at some point. Rome, Daughter, Jeffrey Cantu Ledesma, Liz Harris of Grouper, on her Yellow Electric label. It's a double LP. As always with her releases, as you're hearing it, that's what we're playing. Always very understated, just sort of beautiful imagery, very oblique. But this came out this year on Yellow Electric. That's what we're listening to. One of my favorite records of 2022. Throw that over there. Okay, last band I saw live, I talked about this. June of '44. This is a reissue. I used to have the original. I sold it. I made a mistake. Actually, that's not true. I had CD. I had original of the second album. I never owned this one. But this is Engine Takes to Water from 1990. I don't have the exact date. I think it's 95 though. This was a record store day release and a record I've been wanting to get, the original of it's not a crazy expensive record, but it's kind of one of these records that's not cheap and it's always abroad. So this is that reissue from there. Great Louisville, seminal Louisville sort of post-hardcore, art rock, indie rock kind of wonderful music. And I saw them in Philadelphia in, I guess that was October, right? At Johnny Brenda's with the Desdemonas. Great show. Went down there with my friends for a quick trip. Heat just popped on, so that'll go down in a minute. Okay, their first was their best. I picked 2 for this just because I'm trying to show some stuff. In this case, this is the Slits, my UK original of Cut, an absolutely seminal record for me. Let's take. Yeah, maybe we won't take it out. It's got this. I love the artwork on the original inner sleeve. Now, in this case, I love the second album. The Slits on CBM. The title just escaped me. Inner sleeve. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. There's those cool Island labels with the band logo. If you don't know, you should know. Post-punk, but certainly being heavily influenced by dub and reggae. Ari Up. This is a seminal record and one of my absolute favorites. So I do love the second album as well. And what they would do later was they kind of did something different, a little more sort of arty and less sort of rhythmic and dub-centric on the second album. Well, it was sort of dubby, but in any case. I also want to show Stiff Little Fingers. This is the, I haven't pulled this or played this in a while. But this is the UK original on Rough Trade. I used to have, I think, the second and third albums. Those just do not measure up for me. Inner sleeve. Actually, not quite good if you ask me. So, in this case, with the Stiff Little Fingers, the first was most definitely the best. This is the Rough Trade, sort of a custom label there. So I wanted to show those two. It's driving me crazy. I can't think of the second Slits album because I am such a fan of it. Alright, this is my favorite question, yeah. Hat Trick, record that you own on 3 cassette CD record on all 3. I have 2, again, because I just wanted to show these. The first one is the very first Sonic Youth EP. I have the tape. Super old school. Last Unicorn Records in Utica. This was my wife's. Now, by proxy of being married, mine. On SST. This is the reissue CD that had the bonus material. And then, now I don't have the neutral copy. This is also on SST. This features Richard Edson, who you may know from the films with Jim Jarmusch. Absolutely seminal. I love this phase of the band when they were doing sort of very, again, rhythmic. Richard Edson bringing a different flavor on the drums, and definitely no wave, but this was fitting in more with like stuff like the Slits, even, because it had that sort of pulse. So I have those 3, and also something very different. I have the first record I really got into from Tom Waits, Mule Variations tape, and the CD, the thing I had originally. I got the record, I think when they first reissued it, maybe on Anti, and this tape I found at Goodwill at some point. So there we go, 2 different hat tricks, 6 goals. Okay. Starts and ends with the same letter. I wasn't really a fan of this question, to be honest, Rob. This feels so random, so I'm just going to pick a random record, and maybe it'll begin with the same letter, starts and stops. It actually does, in a way. No, it definitely does. How about that? Gods. The Third Testament. T's with the and T's with third. What do you think? That was truly not planned. This is, if you don't know, the Gods, on ESP disc. A kind of a psych folk record, but just truly freaks doing outsider stuff and having it, just having fun, really. It's certainly in that, it was like East Village scene of sort of tricksters just doing fucked up folk music, or you can call folk music, psychedelia, and just general cool weirdness. I guess I did it. Okay, year of my birth, record from the year of my birth. I have a 7-inch and an LP from 1978. The seminal No New York compilation, produced by Brian Eno. I think he just pulled this music together. But if you don't know this, this is sort of the essential document of the New York no-wave scene with Teenage Jesus and the Jerks, the Contortions, Mars, DNA. Very disparate, very sort of music that feels like it's going to fall apart at any second. Calling it post-punk is in its own sort of thing. It was really sort of art students picking up instruments and not knowing how to play. You can see like Lydia Lunch there, with the exception of James Chance and the Contortions. Those guys can play. But I love Art Linsday of DNA, great guitarist to me. A lot of key people on these records. Sumner Crane, yeah, Lydia Lunch. This is original on the Antilles label. There you have that. And I also figured I'd show a related 7-inch 45 from DNA, simply because there's a story. This is the original pressing on Medical Records at Angry Mom George. One time I'd love to do this story and tell this story. Maybe he could do it. We could do a video out of it. But one of the greatest collections Angry Mom ever had, when Angry Mom was in its infancy, was a collection from the one of the two original owners of Orc Records, and he bought out his collection of all kinds of things, and a lot of it was sort of no wave memorabilia, original posters, of course records, and there was just tons of stuff, so much ephemera. And the cool thing was that this DNA sleeve in that collection, George found like just plain sleeves, like a whole pile of sleeves. So one day he showed me this and was like, hey, I have all these sleeves. If you want to try to find just the record, you can match them up. So this is one of my first sort of Frankensteining matching up. So I bought the original 7-inch on Medical, and then he just gave me a pristine DNA sleeve on Lust Music, or on Medical, sorry. Lust on Lust is sort of their publishing. Crutchfield, EQ, and Arda Lindsay from 1978 as well. Alright, we're moving along. I'm going a little slow, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Most listened to artists in 2022? This is sort of a cheat in a way. There was like a bunch of different things that came up as like major artists. One of them was Wilco. I've mentioned them a million times. But this record I played a ton at the end of the year just because I was feeling it. I've been playing a ton of Fela Kuti and sort of the Afrobeat stuff. I'm just really going through my Fela records. But this record by Tony Allen from 1999, Black Voices, I spun this a ton. I streamed it a ton too, to be fair, to be honest, but also played this record. If you don't know this is sort of a combination of dub, electronica from the time, and Afrobeat, with Tony Allen sort of just doing this really haunting vocals. It is from '99 on the, this is actually a reissue. It's it's weird. It got reissued a few different times. This is one of the first ones. It comes as a double LP too. It's originally on Comet Records, but this is on the Kindred Spirits label. So I played this a ton at the end of the year. It's so interesting, and it just combines all those things beautifully. 4 long tracks. Not something you'd think you'd find 1999 an Afrobeat dub record, but it's fantastic. Wonderful. Lovely. Okay, most listened to... That was my most listened to record, 22. This is my most listened to artist, one that I'm going to do a video on soon. I've been teasing it. Won't say too much about them. Woo. This is a newer, another Archival record I just got. Awawa. The two Ives brothers. I listened to this band all year. I'd heard them years before. I'd listened to some last year, but then this year, heavy duty Woo year. Okay, an Australian LP. I picked 2 because I wanted to pick 2 very different picks, things I haven't shown. We'll start with an absolutely blistering punk record by The Victims. This is a compilation of their singles and unreleased stuff on the In the Red label. If any of you don't know this, look this up. The song Open Your Eyes, just absolutely, that'll get you moving. Vinyl Rich, Dave, you guys would love this record. Victims, look up their singles. We're talking heavy duty original singles. So that's The Victims, and then this one, an Australian nun, Sister Irene O'Connor, who made this. It was originally on the Philips label. This is originally an Australian pressing. This is a US pressing, the original US pressing, which is a tough record to find. Fire of God's Love. Now, is this just some cheesy Christian record? No. She's doing like truly apocalyptic songs with like drum machines. Okay? Let that sink in. Somehow she was working with drum machines and doing some really freaky stuff. Fire, the song, I encourage you to stream this one. On Dead Stock originals of this US edition on Alba House Communications. and I got one of them. Now they were asking a fair amount, but now it has gone up in value, so I'm happy to have it. Fire of God's Love by Sister Irene O'Connor, Apocalyptic Drum Machine, and Strange Folk Music from a nun from Australia. Surprising release of 2022. This one I had a tough time with, and then after looking through records that I haven't even shown yet, thought I'd show this. I bought this Ingroove. Mike at the Ingroove did this exclusive archival pressing of the Wild Times Reflections, and I was reluctant to get it because it was like $40 for this. You know I'm a psych collector for sure. But I was like, I don't love this artwork. You know, there was like no tracks to preview. Again, the price, I was like, this is feeling like it's going to be like one of these archival records that just doesn't live up to the hype. However, it's very good. It's really good, in fact. It is like original AAA all analog cut, and Bernie Grudman cut this, so that's like what Mike's all about. That's why it was $40, I guess. You had to get Grudman. But and the purple vinyl I don't really care for either. Sticker. But music-wise, this is really good. Top-notch psych LP. Reflections, Wild Times. Okay. Let's see. Complete artist discography. Now I've shown the Glenn Jones records. I do have every single vinyl record from Glenn Jones, the guitarist, including 7 inches. But I've shown those. I did a whole video on Glenn Jones. I have others that are basically complete, like Robbie Basho and OCs, but there's a couple things I don't technically have. I'm gonna take this to mean you have every piece of vinyl, whether it was greatest hits, whatever the heck it is, compilations from that artist. I'm being strict. So this one, it was an easy one to do because they only released 4 albums and each like 8 years apart, no 7 inches. And it's by one of my favorite bands, The New Year, who was a continuation of the Cadane Brothers. I've shown this one at least before, on Touch and Go Records, from Bedhead. From Bedhead formed The New Year. First album, Newness Ends, an all-time favorite album. The second album, The End Is Near. That was from 2000. This is from like 2004. 2009, self-titled New Year. All with these similar covers, all on Touch and Go, except for this one. Snow was not on Touch and Go. This came out in 2017. This was on the sort of self-release and also done with, forgetting the label. It works with Pedro the Lion and stuff like that. But Snow from the Year, full artist discography. Okay, and I think that's the end of that Rome record. I'm going to put on something else. Alright, this one is not in this final tag, but I'm playing the Songbird Songs by John Adams, a record I've been meaning to play again, on Opus 1. Playing some sort of quiet music tonight. Not too exciting, I guess. That's what that is. Anyway. So, run of 3 LPs. Again, I've chosen 2 artists. I thought absolutely Alice Coltrane. I have stories on these too. 3 runs of Alice Coltrane, or 3 records from Alice Coltrane, the first 3. Monastic Trio, Huntington Ashram Monastery, and Pita El Daoud. I have stories from each of them, so I thought I'd show. This one I got for like $30 years ago now. Nice shape. This one comes from a story with Angry Mom, and I went on a dig with George. We were looking through a collection. It wasn't a collection, it was someone's like moldy, no power, disgusting basement full of like, you name it, trash, feces, and records all over the place. And it was in the middle of nowhere. We drove all the way out there, like an hour and a half. It wasn't what we thought it would be. And we pulled out what we could. And I remember going through some shitty pile in the corner. And I'm like, oh wow, look at that, Alice Coltrane. Monastic Trio, and this is the copy. Somehow it made it. Oh, he let me buy this one. Actually, I think it was in the, yeah, it was like $25, $30, my price. So he's like, you know what, you deserve that. And I was happy to take that home. Good thing there's no rat feces on it. Huntington Ashram Monastery was some of the most beautiful cover art on Impulse from 1969. This one I had a successful matching up. I had a crappy sleeve with a pretty good record. Record is the same, actually. And then I was able to find someone who just had the sleeve. So I was able to match those up. Not much of a story to that, but it's nice when that happens. I have a future story where I was able to sort of match up something again. Huntington Ashram Monastery. And then Pita the Al Daoud, not so much a story either, but one that was eluding me, and I didn't get it when these records were cheap like I got these two. This one has always been a tough one to get, and Dave, the VC ambassador, hit me to Greyface doing a flip and showing this for $80 now, and this was when this record was starting to go for $300 and $400. So I called them up. Thank you again, Dave. And they're like, yeah, it's not in the best shape, and it is a reissue. I'm like, all right, but that's still a good price. And this is not a reissue. This is the first pressing. It's these labels. I've checked it. It's not the later labels. And it is certainly like a VG record, and you can see the ring wear. But it is a good player. I would love to upgrade it at some point, but I will take it. Certainly could get more for it. So that was a very fair price from them. Thank you, Dave. Again. And then I also chose The Cure. I went with the UK runs, or at least the UK progression. Boys Don't Cry, the album, was a US album. But Three Imaginary Girls? Boys? Three Imaginary Boys, right? Why am I forgetting? Three Imaginary Boys. I'm like, this is the UK first album. You know, I don't know why they need to do Fire, but there's the inner sleeve on the back. 17 seconds. This is a German pressing on Fiction. I love this era of The Cure. And Faith, also a German pressing on Fiction. That's the inner sleeve there as well. Faith is a particularly bleak record, but I dig it. So I went with two artists, Alice Coltrane and The Cure. A great 3-album run. 80s soundtrack. I have exactly one. I don't collect many soundtracks. I did show this one not too long ago. Terry Riley's No Man's Land on Planisphere from 1985. This is the soundtrack. And I collect Terry Riley when I can. So there you go. Ooh. Artists who died in 2022. Now I'm going to try to show one I didn't show. All the vinyl tags I've seen, everyone's been showing interesting ones. And so I will talk about Abdul Wadud, otherwise known as Ron Devon, who was in this Black Unity trio. No, this is not original pressing. You should know that. This is the first reissue, though, done by Gotta Groove, the pressing plant, number 182 out of 2000. Nice low number. They've since redone this with a black sleeve. This is an absolutely incredible free jazz from pretty early for this kind of thing. 69, I think it was. Abdul Wadud. I forget who I think this is him. I forget. Joseph Phillips, aka Yusuf Mumin on the alto. Hassan Abdur Shahid, percussionist, and Wadud, cello and bass. That's what he's known for. I don't have the By Myself record. That's a tough one. Never been reissued, but I do have a few things with him on it. Also showed Doggone AD, the reissue of this on Aris to Freedom. Congrats, Joe, on getting that original on Bari. But this one's tough to get too, and really cool cover. So this is Julius Hempel with Abdul Wadud, as well as Philip Wilson and Bakita Carroll on Doggone AD. He died over the summer, I think. Okay. Non-vinyl. I don't think I've shown this yet. The excellent Needles in Plastic, Flying Nun Records 81 to 88. Every record they released from 81 to 88 is talked about in depth on this. Incredibly well done. I've only read about a third of it. No, not even like a quarter of it. I'm a huge Flying Nun fan, so I'm going to show that. You found a grail. Now, here's one. I want this one to be records I found in a store. I mean, buying a record online, you know, even when you search for the right price and it finally comes up, technically I feel like that's something you found. But I kind of want this one to be like what ones you've truly found. Now, you know, not everyone can get lucky finding a dollar bin or a $5 record that ends up being a grail. And I don't even like the term grail is the other thing. So I'm going with some big wants I crossed off my list that turned up in a record store. In this case, they're both from Angry Mom. So this one was one of the EPs I still needed from Acetone, I guess. Incredibly very, very beautiful and sort of patient record. They do a couple of covers on this, and it's mostly a pretty quiet affair, pretty sort of Americana based too. This is an EP. This is on Vernon Yard from '94. They'll also show this 7-inch. This is another big one that was on my want list that came into Angry Mom from a incredible, super amazing punk collection, 45s, the Desperate Bicycles. The medium is the oh, that's the other one. Sorry, this is Smokescreen and Handlebars. But I wanted this one because I have the medium is the tedium, and this one, and there's one more Desperate Bicycle 7-inch I want to get. So that was a grail for me, or a mega one as I call them. Almost done. What do we got? Non-vinyl grail. Oh, I forgot. It's out of order anyway. 2022 Disappointment. I am going to say the newest Black Country New Road record. Now, I did like this. I feel like I still need time to figure out what's happening. It feels like there's something here. I don't think I found it yet. The first album I liked, did not love, but liked. I'm like, this band is going to get better and be interesting. And they've gotten more interesting with this one. This one's called Ants From Up There. But I just don't know about it yet. And so in a way I was a little disappointed with it. But I bought it because I'm like, there's more to be found here. So still listening, still thinking this through. Kind of like what Mazzy said with the Porcupine Tree, I think. There's probably something here, but I'm still listening and trying to find it. So that was out of order. Space Theme, I got two. Tons of space. I have to show Sunrise. I feel like it's mandatory. Space is the place. Original on Blue Thumb. We got to take out this to do this. You know, got to do it. Blue Thumb. What a weird label. Space is the place. I love this record. I think this is a top, like one of the. I mean, I'm no Sun Ra expert. I've not heard plenty. Don't have any Saturn pressings. Missed out on all those. But I think this one is like, I love where this one goes. So, and then an absolutely far out interstellar and heavy duty dub record by Creation Rebel, Starship Africa. There's your space on you sound. Incredible one. This is like out there dub music from an excellent band. This is their best record, by the way, Creation Rebel. And two more. I got some great VCLT, a wonderful package from Chris Cole this year, 2022. Dave sent me some stuff. Yeah, everyone's been generous. But I'm going to show a gift, which was like sort of a Christmas gift, from my coworker Adam and friend and bandmate at Angry Mom. Thinking Fellers Union Local 282. 282. This is a band I've always known about. Never, ever, ever listened to them. I used to know about this band back in the 90s, and I just, for whatever reason, and into the 2000s, I'd always hear about them, see them in magazines, and I just never, I just never checked them out. But this record, originally on Matador, so I should, obviously why I knew about it, Strangers from the Universe. I really, really, really love this, and I highly recommend this for anyone who wants to hear indie rock that goes into unexpected places, that combines you know, sort of post-punk, per-ubu style. Like, there's even like a Can influence to this. Very interesting and unexpected turns on it. And I am going to be seeking out their other records. I am into this. This is the reissue that just came out. This is one of the ones that's in the most demand, I'd say. So, great gift. From '94 on Matador originally. Don't know why they're not in print on Matador anymore, but great gift. So, one more. 1973 LP. There was so many different choices I could have made. I had a few others picked out, but I wanted to show this because I don't think I've shown it. Joe Henderson. Multiple. Another great pickup at Angry Mom. Very cheap at the time. Got a cracked split, but a cracked spine. From 1973. James Blood Ulmer, John Thomas on guitars, Arthur Jenkins, Jack DeJohnette drumming, Dave Holland, Larry Willis doing electric piano and ring modulator and Echoplex. That's where this one gets really cool. And Mr. Henderson. This is a promo on Milestone. These kind of promo labels, you know. So that's the vinyl tag. We'll see. Hopefully I can muster up the energy to do Dan's in some fashion. I want to do it. I think that was incredibly, you know, quite the feat. Oh, I just lost a piece of that cracked spine. I've lost a piece. Yeah, that was a tour de force, Dan. So I will try to get some version of that done. Otherwise, more to come. So far, I'm doing pretty good with my new 2023 vision for buying records. So far, I have bought a couple, but so far I'm under my cap. Anyway, check that video if you want below. And thanks again, Rob Walker. I'll link to his video for Vinyl Tag 2023. See ya.